What if the greatest power you have isn't in what you say or do, but in what you choose not to do? What if stepping back, becoming silent, and withdrawing your availability could completely change the way the world sees and values you? Most people are trapped in constant reaction, always on for others, and it's draining their energy, their peace, their very essence. But what happens when you stop answering the calls that don't serve you? This is not about running away, it's about reclaiming your power. And today, we'll uncover why silence and unavailability might be your greatest weapons in a world that never stops demanding your attention. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have almost supernatural control over their world, not by force or noise, but by calm withdrawal? They don't shout. They don't beg. They simply step back, and suddenly everything changes. The energy shifts. People start questioning, chasing, trying to understand. Now imagine if you did the same. If you stopped reacting immediately to every provocation, every request, every emotional jab. What if you chose silence instead of the automatic response? Retreat instead of explosion? What do you think would happen? This is the essence of power, the power to control yourself, to master your impulses. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you stop being emotionally, physically, and psychologically always available, the world around you scrambles. Because people have been controlling you all along through your reactions, your impulses, your predictability. The day you withdraw, the game changes. Those who thought they knew you realize they know nothing. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." Now, think about this. When you become inaccessible, who really gets desperate? Who gets irritated? Who tries to provoke you just to pull you back into their emotional storm? That tells you more about them than about you. The truth is, many of us give ourselves away to please others, to maintain false peace, to hold on to people who never truly cared. With every forced yes, every rushed response, every emotional reaction, you give away a piece of your energy. And at the end of the day, what's left? Tiredness, frustration, an emptiness you can't explain. Why? Because you've been too available for those who don't deserve even a minute of your silence. This isn't about turning your back on the world. It's about choosing yourself. It's about what Jung called individuation. The process of becoming whole, authentic, and complete. This process begins when you realize that silence can be stronger than 1,000 arguments, and that withdrawal, when it comes from awareness, not escape, is an act of power. So ask yourself, looking in the mirror, how long will you let your emotions be puppeteered by others? How long will you react to every poke, every wound, every drama? Maybe it's time to cut those strings. To become a mystery again. Because when you stop being available, everything changes. Since childhood, society has taught us that our worth depends on how accessible we are. Say yes, respond quickly, be there for everyone, even when you want to say no. But here's a harsh truth, excessive availability isn't a virtue, it's a prison. As long as you think you need to be accessible all the time, emotionally or otherwise, you'll be manipulated, drained, and forgotten as soon as you stop being useful. Why? Because being predictable makes you a tool. People use you like an emotional emergency button, press when they need attention or relief, then put you back on the shelf. You don't see this because you are trapped in the illusion that if you show up for everyone, someone will show up for you. But that's not how life works. Jung talked about the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted and loved. This mask keeps us overly available. You say, "It's okay," when you are suffocating. You respond immediately when you are exhausted. You justify and defend yourself as if you owe the world something. But the more you center your life around others' needs, the more you disappear from your own being. Being always available is a subtle form of self-abandonment. It's approval-seeking disguised as kindness. And it comes at a price: your peace and your vital energy, things that are finite and precious. People who want you always available don't want you. They want your validation, your comfort, your distraction. But when you change, set boundaries, and refuse to react, they get irritated and call you weird. It's not you who changed. It's just that you stopped being useful. Here's the cruelest paradox: the more available you are, the less you are valued. Because what's too easy to get becomes worthless. Think about it. Who truly deserves your time, your attention, your presence? And even more importantly, who deserves your absence? Before answering, ask yourself, why do we react so much? Why do we give in so easily? Jung called it psychic energy, the fuel of your mind and soul. Every thought, emotion, and action consumes it. So are you choosing where your energy goes? Or is the world deciding for you? Every impulsive reaction wastes your psychic energy. When you argue to prove you are right, when you defend yourself against petty criticism, when you try to please the unpleasable, you are burning your inner strength on things that drain you. Jung said, "What you resist persists." The more you react, the more you chain yourself. People who are emotionally exhausted aren't weak. They're misdirected. And when you are exhausted, you become vulnerable. Manipulators sense that vulnerability and feast on it. Jung taught that a healthy mind keeps energy within its system. It means learning to say no without guilt, to be silent without shame, to observe before acting. True power is not in reacting, it's in choosing when and how to act. That only comes when you know yourself well enough to recognize your impulses. How many nights have you lost sleep over a fight, an insult, a slight? How many times have you replayed words in your head, trying to make sense of why someone hurt you? That's psychic energy leaking away. You are feeding ghosts that should have died long ago. You are fueling toxic cycles. But psychic energy, when guarded well, creates presence. You walk into a room and command respect without saying a word. But if you are reactive and scattered, you become invisible, fragile, and easy prey. The world has no mercy on those who give away their power. Start watching your triggers. What makes you lose your center? Those are the points where your energy escapes. Work there, not to become cold or indifferent, but to be selective, to be sovereign over yourself. Jung revealed something powerful. When you conserve your energy, you break the projections others place on you. And that bothers a lot of people. Because now, you are no longer a puppet. You are a mystery. You are unavailable. And that breaks the game. Manipulative people don't need to shout or threaten. They simply push the buttons you leave open and you react. But when you stop reacting, their game collapses. You say no, you respond with silence. You withdraw. Their projections crumble. The mask they put on you falls. That unsettles them because now they have to look at themselves, and not everyone is ready for that. Your unavailability threatens their control. Your silence exposes their inner chaos. Then comes the backlash, the drama, the criticism, the attacks. Not because you are wrong, but because you stopped being their mirror. Jung said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you withdraw, you force others to confront their shadows. And many would rather keep feeding on you than face their own emptiness." But what about you? Are you ready to endure being misunderstood, rejected, even attacked for protecting yourself? Because it is in that silence, that withdrawal, that true power is born. The modern world is noisy. Everyone wants to be heard, to prove a point, to win. But the greatest power few master is the power of silence. Not passive silence, but strategic, conscious, lucid silence. The kind of silence that is not absence, but amplified presence. The Stoic Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Silence helps us see clearly, observe patterns, detect manipulation, break cycles. And lucidity terrifies those who live to control you. Have you noticed how some panic when you don't respond? When you disappear? It's not because they miss you. It's because you remove their narrative control. While you speak, you are still in the game. But when you are silent, you change the rules. True silence is mastery of your energy. It's the refusal to be dragged into useless battles. It's choosing peace over chaos. Jung said individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, requires this distancing. Only in silence can you hear your true self, undisturbed by the world's noise. But silence has a price. It will alienate those who only valued the role you played. You'll seem cold, distant, arrogant. But that's just their discomfort, not your fault. The more you mature, the more you protect your words. Because every word costs energy. Not everyone deserves your truth. Sometimes silence is not retreat, it's sovereignty. It's the language of those who no longer need to prove anything. Silence makes others face their own thoughts and fears. And that discomfort tells you more about them than any argument could. You don't owe explanations. Your absence explains itself. Those threatened by your silence reveal their dependence on your chaos. The most powerful silence rebuilds you from within. It reconnects you to something beyond approval. It's where you reclaim your energy and your essence. And that is what we will explore next: how to consciously protect your energy, choose where it flows, and guard your soul. If you are on this path of reclaiming yourself, I invite you to check out my book Beyond the Shadow, where I break down Jung's ideas and give you practical tools for boundaries and energy protection. The link is in the pinned comment. Because understanding isn't enough if you keep saying yes when you mean no. True transformation begins with emotional discipline. Conscious unavailability is not coldness or arrogance, it's freedom. It starts with small steps, not responding immediately, breathing before reacting, walking away from chaos, turning off your phone without guilt, saying, "Not today, I'm not interested, I won't get involved." And here's the key: you don't owe anyone an explanation. You owe it to yourself. And that, for many, is the hardest truth of all. Because when you refuse to explain yourself, you take away their power to keep you trapped in their emotional narrative. Carl Jung said, "Every process of individuation goes through isolation. Not depressive isolation, a sacred, intentional retreat to reconnect with your true voice." So, will you keep being available to everyone but yourself? Or will you start protecting your silence as the sacred fortress it is? The choice is yours. True strength isn't shown by how loudly you shout, but by how calmly you hold your silence. When you stop reacting and start choosing your energy wisely, you break free from the chains of manipulation and exhaustion. Remember, you don't owe anyone your immediate response or your emotional availability. Your peace, your energy, and your boundaries are your greatest treasures. If you are ready to reclaim your power through conscious unavailability, start small, say no without guilt, pause before reacting, and protect your silence like the fortress it is. Because in the end, the power to control your life lies within your ability to control yourself. If you want to dive deeper into these ideas and learn how to protect your energy with practical tools, check out the link in the pinned comment. Until next time, stay strong, stay silent, and stay sovereign.